All right, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the second online panel of Building an Inclusive Future through Collective Action, which is an initiative launched by the North Star Special Needs Society to advance accessibility, challenge stigma, support inclusion for people with disability in Asian Canadian communities. And today, as part of York University, we are launching a few online panels. So my name is Dr. Elena Caprioni. I'm the program director of the Asian Business and Management program at York University, and I'm Italian Canadian. I have red curly hair. I'm wearing a green top, and my pronouns are she, her. It's really a pleasure to have everybody here tonight. Okay, so before we begin, please note that caption, transcript, and translation tools are available for this session through the options on your screen. Like if you check on there are three dots, then you can choose the option that you want: caption, translation, or transcript. Also, please note that this meeting is recorded. So if you want to be anonymous, feel free to change your name. Just click on your name on with the right click, and then you can change it as you wish. All right. Before we begin, we invite you to take a moment to read the land acknowledgement that we have here on the screen. And now we can would like to really talk about this workshop series that York University and North Star designed together. For people who joined us yesterday, welcome back. For people who are new, I'm going to tell you a little bit about more. I'll tell you more about this initiative. So this is really it's an initiative designed for everyone. Parents, caregivers, educators, healthcare professionals, employers, community members who want to understand disability, inclusion, and accessibility in today's society. The goal is really to build awareness, empathy, and knowledge across the community with different sessions, focus on different topics. Yesterday, we talked about how to navigate the school system, K-12 education system. Today we'll talk more about employment, pathway for youth with disabilities. Tomorrow it will be more focused on transition to adulthood. And then the last day is a special space for caregiver and parents to talk about mental health and burnout. All of these conversations are very important within Asian Canadian communities where disability, mental health can still carry stigma or remain difficult topics to discuss openly. So our goal tonight is really to create a safe, a welcoming space to learn, ask questions, share experiences. So feel free to engage with us, to ask questions. Feel free to leave your questions in the chat, and then at the end of the workshop, we'll have a moment for a Q&A sessions. We'll collect the majority of the questions, and then we'll try to reply to all of them. A few important things I want to clarify before we start. In this initiative, the term disability includes neurodiversity, and learning disability and physical or development condition. I also want to clarify that when we use the term Asian Canadian community, Asia includes East West, South, Southeast, North, and West Asia. We follow the definition of the Canadian census for this. Okay, now tonight's session, as mentioned, is focused on employment pathways for youth with disability, and we focus on helping youth with disability and their families better understanding the transition into their workforce. So during the first part, led by Mubina Jaffer, we'll discuss the importance of understanding individual strengths and needs, building communication and workplace skills, developing independence and organizational strategies, and learning how to navigate the workplace expectations. Then we have a break around 8 o'clock, as we had last night. And then in the second part, led by Tarsini Markandu, we will explore the important role that family play in transition planning, including working with school, accessing community support and resources, creating practical pathways towards employment success. Okay, so now, having said that, before we start, we would like to launch a quick poll so we know a little bit better who is our audience. And also we have a couple questions to know what you know about this topic. They're very easy questions, don't worry. Mia, if we can launch them. Mia is our program assistant. She's going to launch a few questions. I'm going to read them and take your time to reply to all of them. They're all on the same poll. So the first question asks what best describes your role or perspective in attending this panel. You can choose between a person with disability or family member, educator, employer, health or social service provider, community leader, policymaker, or general interest. Yesterday we had a lot of people that just said general interest, which was very interesting. And so that now the other questions we have is that before the session, and now keep in mind that we're going to ask you these questions at the end. So question number 1 is, how confident are you in your understanding of workplace skills for youth with disabilities, such as communication, time management, and self-advocacy? And you can reply on a scale from 1 to 5. 1 is not at all, and 5 is very much. Okay. We have people who have good knowledge because it's like we have moderately and very. Thank you. And then the last question is how familiar, no, sorry, the last question. The question number 3 is how familiar are you with transition planning for youth with disabilities, the process of moving from school to adult life? And again, 1, not at all, and 5, very much. And then the last question, how familiar are you with employment supports for youth with disabilities, such as job coaching or supporting employment? And again, we have scale from 1 to 5. So our two speakers tonight, Mubina and Tarsini, will be sure that we move from number 3 to number 5 at the end of the session. Or we hope so, at least. Mia, let's leave the poll open on the side, if that's okay, because a few people might join a few minutes later. So let's give more opportunity to people to reply. Is that okay?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, and now having said that, I'm happy to introduce you to our first speaker, Mubina Jaffer. She is the manager of training and education at the Ability Center, where she leads initiatives focused on accessibility, inclusion, and leadership development. And she's a wheelchair user, single mother. She brings lived experience to her work with the diverse community and organizations. And I'm happy to have Mubina here tonight to start this session. And for people who are here who joined also last year as part of this initiative, Mubina also joined last time. Last time, like was more focused on her story, and this time she will bring here new knowledge. Okay, please join me in welcoming her.
Thank you, Elena, and thank you for the opportunity to come back again. This is a great opportunity to, bring people together to really learn and grow and give some knowledge sharing, but also, you know, provide practical ways to create shifts within your own environment. Okay, I'm gonna share my screen. All right, everyone can see it? Okay, perfect. All right. So today we're going to focus on the key skills that parents and caregivers can help children with disabilities build. Skills that support independence, confidence, and future workplace readiness. These aren't extra tasks or complicated programs. They're everyday skills that grow through routines, conversations, and the small moments that happen naturally throughout the day. And so I myself, as Elena mentioned, I use a wheelchair and I grew up in Toronto. Today I'm dressed in black with a red top. And then I also wear a hijab. I'm a Muslim. And so I'm wearing a black hijab today. So growing up in Toronto, I've actually embedded a lot of these skills when I learned a lot of them when I was a child. And I think it's important to start to think about these and start young. I'm a mom as well. And so, you want to start young with your children. And children with disabilities are no different. You want to start at a young age so that you can start to really work with them and build them and get them ready for independence, confidence, and life skills and pathways to work as they get older. And so my goal today, it isn't to add more pressure to your plate, right? It's to show how the things you're already doing, getting ready in the morning, solving small problems together, navigating changes, they can all become opportunities to build foundational life and employment skills. And these skills start developing long before a child thinks about a job. I know that's what happened in my life. And so they begin with self-awareness, communication, and independence. And children with disabilities often have incredible strengths. And with the right modeling and support, they can build the life and workplace skills that help them participate more fully in their communities. Okay, I'm just gonna, sorry. I don't know hang on one sec. I think I need to just go to slideshow mode. Okay, there we go. All right, I think that's better. So today we're gonna focus on a
Mubina,
little
sorry
bit.
to interrupt.
Yep,
Yeah, I
you
don't
don't see it
see it.
anymore?
No.
Okay, so hang on. Sorry, I need to. Okay, do you see it now? No?
Not yet.
Okay, wait. Okay, I think I tried to go in presentation mode, but it didn't work. Okay, now you see it?
Yes, we're
Yes.
done.
Okay, so we're gonna have to leave it at this. Okay, I was trying to do it in presentation mode, but I don't think it was working. Okay, so today we're gonna explore 5 key areas: self-advocacy, communication, time management and organization, problem solving and adaptability, and then finally professional etiquette. And each section, it includes some practical strategies that you can use at home, at school, and in community settings. Okay, this is a supportive space, and there's no single right way to parent or support a child with a disability. And every child is different and every family is different. So my goal is to offer tools, ideas, and language that you can adapt to your child's strengths, needs, and personality. Okay, so with that in mind, let's begin with our first foundational skill, um, self-advocacy. Okay, now let me just move. Okay, there. Okay. All right, there we go. I think I need to make this a little bit smaller. Can you see? Yep. Okay. So the first skill is self-advocacy. It's actually one of the most important lifelong skills we can help children build. It's not about being demanding or outspoken. It's about knowing yourself, understanding what helps you succeed, and feeling confident expressing your needs in whatever way works for you. And the foundation for this starts early, long before a child can explain their needs in full sentences. I know today, as a manager, I have people reporting to me. This is one of the first things I ask them is how can I support you to be successful in your role? And so this is something that we can all do. And, we want to start to teach our children at a young age. So children learn who they are watching, and by watching how we respond to them. When we name their strengths and their needs out loud, things like you focus really well when you have something to fidget with, for example, or you understand things better when you can see them. We help them build a vocabulary for self-awareness. Okay, so it's important to start to help them see those strengths that they have. So this shifts the focus away from what can't they do, okay, toward what works for them. And that mindset is essential for both self-advocacy and also for future employment. Oftentimes people are not aware of what their strengths are, or what they what they need to be successful, and they're not able to express that. They're not able to self-advocate. So we want to start to teach this at a young age. And so what happens is these observations, they teach children that their needs are not problems. They're simply a part of how they function best. So as you're going through this presentation, just think about one strength or one interest your child or student has, and how could that connect to a future role in the workforce. Okay. The other thing you want to do now is you want to encourage choice making and independence. Choice making, it's the foundation of self-advocacy. It teaches children that their voice matters and that they have agency in their own lives. These choices, they don't have to be big. It can be as simple as, do you want to start with reading or drawing? Do you want to sit over here or over there? Do you want me to explain it again or show you? So what you're doing by asking these questions to your child is you're giving them that opportunity to choose. Choose, what they want or what works best for them. And you're teaching them that choice making ability. And every time a child makes a choice, they practice decision making, they get confidence and autonomy, all essential parts of self-advocacy and future workplace readiness. You also want to, a big part of workplace success is communication, right? So it's not just speaking, but it's being able to express their needs clearly. So children need tools for this, and these tools will look different for every child, for every person. Some will use words, some will use gestures, and some will use visuals, okay? And we can give them simple, repeatable phrases like, I need a break. I do that with my son. Or can you show me another way? I don't understand yet. I need more time. Okay. And when we start to do this with our children, or when we start to express ourselves, they learn and they start to feel, okay, if my mom or dad is doing this, I can do this too. Okay. So these scripts, they become building blocks for self-advocacy in school, in programs, and eventually at work. You want to model that self-advocacy in real time. So children learn self-advocacy by watching the adults around them. Okay, we're the role models. And so when we model it openly, we show them that it's normal and healthy to express needs. So for example, we can say, I need a minute to think, or I work best when things are down. I'm feeling overwhelmed, so I'm going to take a short break. Okay, so when children see adults doing this without any shame, without an apology, they learn that advocating for themselves is expected and it's not something to hide. I remember when I was growing up, self-advocacy was something that I did learn, but there were lots of moments where I felt shame behind it, or I felt I had to apologize. Okay. If we went somewhere where there was no elevator, I couldn't go and I would apologize. I'm sorry, I can't come. But, in hindsight, no, it's okay. It's good to express that, look, I can't go to this place because there's stairs. And now let's find another place where I can attend as well. Okay. Normalize asking for help. Help them see that that's a strength. Okay. There's often a misconception, and I'll tell you, I fell into that for years in my life as well. There's that misconception that independence means not needing help. But in reality, successful employees ask for help when they need it. And we can reinforce that help seeking is responsible, it's smart, and it's a sign of self-awareness. So when a child asks for help, even in small ways, we can respond with, thank you for telling me what you need. I'm glad you asked. That was great self-advocacy. And you want to, celebrate an advocacy attempt. It may not always look polished, but sometimes it's a gesture, a facial expression, a single word, or a moment of hesitation before speaking up. And when we celebrate these moments, even quietly, we are reinforcing that behavior. And so celebration, it builds confidence, and confidence builds independence. And the last thing I want to talk about here is you want to, teach preference versus accommodation. Okay. This is a very powerful skill that grows with the child. So a preference is something that makes life easier, whereas an accommodation is something a child needs to participate fully. Okay. And so we can explain it by, something like you prefer to sit near the window, but you need written instructions to understand the task. Those are two different things, a preference versus an accommodation. Or you prefer headphones, but you need extra time to finish the work. And so understanding this difference for children, it helps for IEP meetings, it helps for workplace accommodations, and then also as an adult, it helps with self-advocacy. Okay, so all of these self-advocacy skills, they connect directly to communication because expressing needs, asking questions, and sharing ideas all rely on communication tools. And so now let's move to our next slide. Let me see if I can do this without losing it. So our next slide is all about building confident communication. And 1 second, there we go. All right. Okay, so those are the foundational skills on self-advocacy, and that focuses on the how. Now we want to actually help children build the communication and interaction skills in everyday life. And so, as I said earlier, communication skills, they grow with practice. And they don't develop in isolation. They grow through everyday interactions. They grow through modeling and also low pressure opportunities. And that's why it's important to start building these skills with your children at an early age. Our goal is to help children express themselves clearly, to listen actively, to ask for clarification, and to understand that everyone communicates in different ways. So skill building, okay, it happens in real life, in small everyday moments. We can intentionally create opportunities for children to express themselves. So at home, when it comes to either choosing snacks, asking for items, or sharing opinions, that's an opportunity. In the community, when you're out and about ordering food, okay, asking a question at a store, right? Encourage your children to do that. I know I often get stopped when I'm out and about. And mostly by children, they're asking their parents or they're asking me directly, why am I in a wheelchair? And I encourage it. The parents will often say, shh, right? Like, don't ask, don't ask. But I encourage it because children are curious, okay? Children want to communicate. Children want to ask. Allow them. Okay. You can also support them, at school, participating in routines, group activities. But you can also email the teacher. Okay. It's always good to have that good, strong relationship with the teacher because the child is with the teacher for a good chunk of the day. Okay. And so the more practice they get, the more confident they become. And these low pressure moments, right, when they're younger, they help children build that comfort with expressing themselves in ways that feel safe and familiar. um, Role play or rehearsing real life scenarios, they're also a powerful low pressure way to practice communication before real situations happen, right? It helps children rehearse interactions, it helps them reduce anxiety, and again, it helps build confidence. And you can role play things like ask the teacher or a supervisor for help, right? Maybe you could get them to greet someone. Maybe you can get them to respond to instructions. Maybe you can help them with communication on explaining a misunderstanding, or for them to ask for more time or for more support. Okay. And these rehearsals, they help children feel prepared and capable, especially when they're, in a new or in unpredictable situations. You want to, encourage and ask for clarification. Okay. In workplaces, not understanding instructions, they can lead to mistakes or even frustration. So we want to teach children that it's okay and important to ask for clarification. Simple scripts that can help is something like, can you repeat that? Can you show me? Right? Some people are, visual versus just, hearing words. Um, I'm not sure what you mean, right? When we say that to a child, then they feel like, okay, it's okay if I don't understand something, I can ask that too. Can you explain it another way? Not everybody learns the same way. So many children, they'll hesitate to ask questions because they fear being wrong. And so when we normalize clarification, we teach them that asking questions is responsible, it's smart, and it's also, again, a sign of self awareness. You want to help them build active listening skills. So communication isn't just about speaking, right? It's also about listening. And active listening includes paying attention, following instructions, responding appropriately, summarizing what they heard. And so we can support this by breaking instructions into steps. Okay. We as adults may be able to, provide all the instructions in one go, but a child, depending on their age and their abilities, might need it broken down into small steps or small instructions. Or if as they're growing, maybe you can now bulk them into bigger ones. Okay. You also want to support this by asking them to repeat back what they heard. Okay. By saying something like, so what I heard is, okay. Use visual supports if needed, because all of these strategies, they help children participate more fully and they reduce misunderstandings. You also want to understand that everyone has different communication styles, okay? Not everyone communicates in the same way, and that's especially important in inclusive environments and also in future workplaces. So some children may use few words. My son, he still uses few words. Um, some children may need more processing time. Okay. Some children may communicate using visuals or gestures. They might rely on tone, body language, or routines. Okay. So helping children understand and respect different communication styles, it builds empathy, it reduces frustration, and it strengthens social and workplace skills. It also helps them to understand their own communication style, and also how to explain it to others. Okay, so communication is one part of that picture, but children also need organizational skills to follow through on tasks. They need to be able to manage routines and stay on track. So let's move to that. Whoops. Yep. That's the next slide. So let's move to time management. And this is a key area for employment success. And these are the behind the scenes skills that help children complete tasks, manage their time, and function more independently in life and also in the workplace. And again, we can teach these at a young age. So these skills, time management and organization, they will not develop automatically. Okay. They grow through structure, they grow through practice, and then also the right supports. So tools, routines, and step-by-step strategies, they help children feel more capable and they reduce overwhelm. Okay. I know, many people with disabilities do feel overwhelmed. And so you want to provide the strategies at an early age. So as they, grow older, they're already, learn these strategies and they can start using them when, they encounter different interactions, different situations. Okay. Um, just like adults, children benefit from reminders, from planners, and assistive technology. And these aren't crutches, okay? They're strategies that successful people use every day. And so children with disabilities they can use them too, okay? So many of us rely on tools to stay organized. I know I live by my calendar, my Google Calendar. It's got my stuff in it, it's got my son's stuff in it, and I live by that. But there's also timers, apps, reminders, and children can benefit from these supports. So start teaching them at an early age, right? We're living in a world of technology now. And so it's important to, start using these tools with them because these tools reduce pressure on memory and they help children know what's coming next. So these can include things like visual schedules, checklists, they're very useful, timers and phone reminders, color-coded calendars, okay, digital planners. And when children can see the plan, they feel more confident and more in control. I mentioned this earlier, you want to break tasks into smaller steps, right? So larger tasks can feel overwhelming, especially for children who struggle with executive functioning. So when we break those tasks into smaller, manageable steps, it makes them clearer and more achievable. So for example, instead of saying to your child, clean your room, okay, and I know I've said that to my son tons of times, you could break it down into pick up your clothes, put toys away, make the bed. Ultimately, it's all going to be about cleaning your room, but now you've broken it down into some tasks within that concept of cleaning the room. Okay. And so this mirrors how tasks are structured in many workplaces, right? Step by step with clear expectations. And then you want to also celebrate each step completed because that builds motivation and momentum. You want to build routines that support independence, right? So routines create predictability, and predictability, it builds on independence. And so when children know what to expect and what's expected of them, they need less prompting over time. Okay. It's not going to happen if you start today, it's not going to happen overnight. This is a journey. Okay. And this is going to take time and effort on your part with your child. But I'm telling you, I've seen this with lots of people. I've seen this in the work I do. Um, I have a close friend who has a child on the spectrum, and she worked with her child when he was young, and I'm seeing the fruits of it now. He is in, high school, and it's amazing. Like when I met him, I didn't even know he was on the spectrum. It's amazing all the work she did with him. We see it now. So take that time, and it's a journey, right? Remember that. So daily routines like packing their bag the night before, reviewing the next day's plan, or checking off tasks, they help children internalize structure. And then these routines become the foundation for workplace habits later on. You also want to teach prioritization. right? First, next, later. So in a workplace, not everything can be done at once. So prioritization is a key skill. And we can start teaching this early by talking through what needs to be done first, what needs to be done next, and what needs to be done later. Okay? Use first, then language. That's very important when with children. And helping children decide what's most important. That's a key element to teaching prioritization. Don't just jump in and, tell them this should be done first. Give them the opportunity to think through it. Give them the opportunity to tell you, okay? And you know what? Every human makes mistakes. Children are no different. But it's from those mistakes that we learn and grow, okay? You want to help them practice simple decision making. And these small moments, they build the ability to organize tasks and manage time, which are skills that are essential for employment. There's assistive technologies, lots of assistive technologies out there, okay? And they can be a powerful tool for independence. So this might include, like I said, apps for reminders and organization, visual planners, speech to text or text to speech apps. Also, focus or task management apps. These are all very, very important. And then also assistive listening devices for hearing loss. Okay. You can get classroom microphones for your child. You can get Bluetooth enabled hearing supports. I know in the workplace I'm at, we use hearing loops for people who come to use our programs and services. So there's lots of options out there. You also want to look at visual alert systems for alarms or timers or notifications. Okay. The goal is to match tools to the child's needs, not to force a one size fits all solution, because you can't do that, right? Assistive devices, they help reduce barriers, they support independence, and they allow children to participate more fully, and like when it comes to routines and also when it comes to learning. Okay. You want to practice time estimation, right? Time estimation is a skill many adults struggle with. So teaching it early is incredibly helpful, right? And you can practice this by asking, how long do you think this will take? And again, don't jump in to, give them the answer. Let them think about it. Let them come up with an answer. It may be the right amount of time. It may be too little. It may be too much. And that's okay. But when you keep doing this repeatedly, they'll start to adjust and they'll start to get a better sense of it. Okay. And if they don't know the answer, just say to them, what's your guess? Okay. This is again an opportunity to develop these skills early on. You could also even say something like, let's check the timer and see. Okay. So what this does is it builds awareness, it builds planning skills, and it also gives them the ability to manage tasks within time limits. When these are all, again, essential to workplace readiness. And the last thing I want to talk about here is you want to normalize using supports. Okay. We want children to understand that using tools, whether it's a planner, a timer, an app, or an assistive device, it's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of self-awareness. And successful adults use supports every day. And when we normalize this early, children feel more confident using the tools that help them thrive. So strong organizational skills, they give children a sense of structure, and that structure becomes the foundation for handling challenges, navigating change, and solving problems. And so now let's look at how to build that problem solving and adaptability skills that help children stay flexible and confident when things don't go as planned. Okay. So this is also an essential area for employment readiness, okay? And these are the skills that help children navigate unexpected changes, because change is inevitable, okay? It also helps them handle challenges and stay flexible when things don't go as planned. And in workplaces, these skills are just as important as technical abilities. Okay. Problem solving and adaptability, they grow through experience, through modeling, and supportive guidance. Children, they learn how to respond to challenges by practicing in real life moments, watching how adults handle change, and having simple frameworks that they can rely on. So, our goal is to help them build confidence, resilience, and the ability to stay calm and flexible. Everyday moments are some of the best opportunities to build problem solving. Okay. Things like a change in plans. Okay. How many times does that happen? I know in my life it's happened a lot. A missing item. Maybe they're getting ready to go to camp or school and they've missed something. Now, you want to teach them that ability to be flexible, to accept. Okay. A new environment, right? In different stages of their life, they're going to experience a new environment. A task that doesn't go as planned. So instead of fixing that problem right away, I encourage you to pause and guide them through it, right? Ask questions like, what could you try? What do you think might work? These help children think through. And these small experiences, they build confidence and independence. Okay. You want to teach simple problem solving frameworks. Okay. Children will benefit from clear, repeatable processes that they can use when something goes wrong. So a simple framework might be something like, what's the problem? What are my options? What can I try first? Did it work? And so it's a predictable structure that helps children slow down. It helps them think through the possibilities, and it helps them to take action. Skills that easily translate directly into workplace problem solving. You want to model calm response to change. Okay. As I said earlier, children learn adaptability by watching. They watch us as parents, as educators, and they model that behavior. So when plans shift or something unexpected happens, our reaction, it becomes their template. It becomes their way of behaving. So if we model calm, flexible responses, even when things are inconvenient, and trust me, with life, when life happens, a lot of things become inconvenient. We want to show them that change is manageable, right? This builds emotional regulation and resilience. And you want to encourage flexibility and resilience, right? Flexibility doesn't mean liking change. Okay. It means being able to adjust. I've had people report to me who've had disabilities, both visible and invisible. And, flexibility is a really important element of, supporting them to help them understand that, things change on a dime in the work world. And, when we're flexible, those changes will not impact us or even the work we do as much. Okay. So, we can all support this by acknowledging when change is hard, because there are some situations where it's very difficult, but you want to praise attempts when they adapt or when they try to adapt. And you want to help them try again after the frustration. And so what that does is these moments, they help children build the resilience they need in school, in their community programs, and also in future workplaces. I mentioned we're all human and we make mistakes. So normalizing making mistakes is a key piece to growing. Okay. Mistakes are not failures, they're information. Okay. When we treat mistakes as part of the learning process, children become less afraid to try new things. So we can say things like, that didn't work. What else could we try? Or we could say, mistakes help us learn. I'm glad you gave it a try. And so in workplaces, right, being able to learn from a mistake is far more important than never making them, right? I've been in the work world for decades. I make mistakes even to this day. We're human. It happens. Okay. But you want to normalize that for children so that they start to feel more confident and, they're not scared to make a mistake. You want to identify some coping strategies for them. So adaptability isn't just something cognitive, right? It's also emotional. Children need tools to manage stress when things change unexpectedly. And so this might include things like taking deep breaths. I know I do that all the time to this day. Sensory tools, okay? Maybe they need, they're overstimulated or they need something to, stay calm. Taking a breath, asking for help, right? Again, that could really help them with adapting. Using any visual or scripts, okay? The visuals oftentimes help because they just, bring that sense of calm. So you want to help the child identify what works for them, to give them a sense of control and helps and supports them with emotional regulation. And all of these things you want to try at home, and school, because those are the safe places for them as they're learning and growing. You also want to, do role play at home of unexpected changes. Okay. This is a safe way to practice flexibility. So I encourage you to, rehearse some scenarios like a canceled activity. Okay. Or having a substitute teacher, right? That's very common in today's world. A change in routine. Okay, something they've been doing for, I don't know, a few weeks or a few months, and now suddenly you have to do it differently. A new environment. Okay, so practicing all of these moments ahead of time, it reduces that anxiety and it builds confidence. And the last thing I want to touch on here is praise flexibility. Okay, flexibility, it often shows up in small ways, and it's those moments that deserve recognition. And when we praise flexibility, we are reinforcing it. So you might say something like, I noticed you adjusted even though the plan changed. Okay, it's going to help the child recognize that, hey, they did something that, was noticed. Or you could say something like, you stayed calm when things were different, right? That was great flexibility. Again, you're helping them, recognize the flexibility and the adaptability, but you're also praising them. So you're reinforcing it. And so what that does is, again, it builds self-awareness, but it encourages the child to keep trying. And when children learn to problem solve, to adapt and stay flexible, they're building the foundation for independence and workplace success. Okay, these skills, they also prepare them for understanding workplace expectations and also interacting respectfully with others, right? So let's look at the last piece that I want to cover, which is professional etiquette. And these are everyday behaviors and norms. They help children navigate different environments with confidence. Um, so this ties everything together. Okay, we've talked about communication, we've talked about organization, we've talked about self-advocacy and problem solving. Now we want to move into that professional etiquette. And so these are skills that help children understand workplace norms. It helps them to interact respectfully, but it also helps them navigate different environments with confidence. Okay, professional etiquette, it isn't about being formal. All right. A lot of people think that's what it's about. It's actually about understanding expectations. It's about understanding boundaries and also how to interact in ways that help children succeed in school, community programs, and then, eventually in employment. So these skills, again, they grow gradually through modeling, so how we behave, through practice, and also through real world experiences. So we can start introducing workplace expectations early and in simple ways. Okay. This can include things like being on time. Okay. You want to really work with your child on that because when you do that, as they age, they're going to start to understand the importance of being on time. Okay. You also want to start to help them, understand following instructions. Okay. When you're at work, you're going to have some kind of instructions given to you on the task you're doing or the job you're doing or the project you're working on. And so you want them to understand that early on. But you also want to help them understand communicating respectfully. Okay. We talked a lot about communication. But at work, the professional etiquette is communicating respectfully. And you also want to help them to work with others. Okay. As a parent, we want to keep our child in a bubble as long as we can. I know I've done that with my child, but my parents did that a lot with me, given that I have a disability. Because the natural instinct is, okay, my child has a disability, I have to protect them. As it is, a parent protects their child, but the protection um, instinct, it like goes up there, like way up there. So you really want to, help them to be able to work with others. And a lot of these skills will support that, but you can start that at a young age. And so these expectations, like, being on time, following instructions, communicating respectfully, working with others, you don't need to teach them all at one shot. Okay. You can introduce them gradually through the daily routines that they have, through responsibilities, right? And what feels like a small habit at home, it becomes a workplace skill later. So keep that in mind. Okay. And, I've gone through a lot of stuff so far. You don't have to do everything. You can even just pick one thing and start working with your child on that. Come back. This is being recorded. It's going to be on the website. You come back to it, right? Take notes. Take notes on stuff you can do down the road. Okay. You also want to get into teaching communication etiquette, right? Like email, messages, tone, right? Professional communication, it looks different from casual communication, right? And children, they can benefit from learning this, right? How to write short, clear, polite messages. How to greet someone appropriately. You can do that at home very easily. How the tone can change and how, how the tone can change how the message is received. Also, whether to use an email or in-person communication, whether to use a WhatsApp message or a text message. Okay. These skills, they'll help children feel more confident when communicating with their teachers, their supervisors, their coaches, their support people, and then eventually with their employers. You want to touch on boundaries, confidentiality, privacy. Okay. Boundaries are a big part of professional etiquette, okay? And children they need support on understanding that. What's appropriate to share, how to ask for privacy, how to navigate social situations, why some information must be kept confidential. Okay. Um, when we teach them this at an earlier age, then it's seamless when they get into the work world, right? Um, it's these conversations, they help children stay safe, they build trust for them, and also understand the difference between a personal space versus a professional space. Okay. You want to practice teamwork and meeting behavior, like going into meetings. Um, Teamwork is a huge part of almost every workplace. Okay. And we can practice these skills at home, or you can, again, have that conversation with the teacher, get the teacher to help support them on this, right? Um, Focus on taking turns, listening to others, contributing ideas, right? Staying on topic, because oftentimes children get off topic, but also waiting for your turn to speak. These are all key teamwork skills that you can teach your child. And it's these small behaviors, it's these small skills that build the foundation for participating in group activities, for participating in classrooms, and then eventually in workplace meetings. Okay. You want to teach that different environments have different norms. Okay. So this is a very important skill for workplace readiness. in understanding that expectations change depending on the environment. So, what's appropriate at home, it may not be appropriate at school, and what works at school may not work in a workplace. And so, we can help our children learn to observe, to notice cues, and also coming back to that adaptability, right? These are all key parts of professionalism. And the last thing I want to talk about here is you want to use real world practice opportunities. So, volunteering, chores, and programs. And when I say programs, I mean programs in the community, okay, as they're growing up. So, children learn professional etiquette best through real practice, okay? So, get them involved in volunteer roles. um, start getting them to take on chores and responsibilities at home. I know when I was growing up, I did volunteer roles in my community. I I had two brothers, an older one and a younger one, and I was the only girl, but I was in the middle and I had the disability. My parents were very overprotective, but I made sure that I participated in chores. I had responsibilities just like my brothers did. Okay. Um, I got involved in community programs. I helped with family tasks. I participated in group activities. These are all things that you can get your child involved in, and they're real life examples. And they're going to develop those skills on professional etiquette that's going to translate to the work world. Okay. When you do this at home or through volunteer roles or through community programs, they're low pressure environments that give children a chance to practice responsibility, practice communication, and then practice independence in ways that feel natural and safe. Okay. So when children learn workplace expectations, communication etiquette, boundaries, and teamwork, they build the foundation of professionalism. Okay. And these skills will help them feel confident and capable as they move into community roles, into volunteer opportunities, and then eventually, as they get older, into employment. Okay. So I've talked a lot about lots of different things, and I want to mention that not everybody, not every child can, learn all of these skills. Okay. Not every human can learn all of these skills. So it's important to, you know your child best. You know what you can, teach at which moment, at which age, at which stage of their life. Okay. I've given a broad spectrum because I want to cover all abilities. I want to cover all disabilities. And so these are skills that are key essential skills. Okay. And I want to, whoops, get to the last slide, but I can't seem to click. There we go. I want to just close off by, saying that as parents, as educators, you really play a powerful role in building these skills. Okay. Again, not all at once, but gradually through everyday moments, but intentional practice. And employment readiness isn't about preparing your child for one specific job. Okay. It's about building confidence. It's about building independence. And it's also about building the ability to navigate the world with clarity and self-awareness. And every routine, every conversation, every small change, it becomes an opportunity to strengthen these foundational skills. And when we support children in developing them early, we open doors for greater independence, greater participation, and then also future employment opportunities. Okay. I want to thank you as parents, as educators, as supporters for the work you do every day. Okay. For the encouragement, for the patience, the advocacy, but also the belief you pour into the children you support or the children you're raising. Remember, these small moments, they truly add up. And I want to thank you again for this opportunity. I don't know, Elena, do we
Yeah,
have
thanks.
time for questions right now, or do we want
Yeah,
to?
before we have a quick break, we just received a question. I'm going to
Sharing.
put it in the chat and then I'm going to read it. We talk a lot about the importance of self-advocacy, and then but someone is asking, sometimes parents or children with disability may find it challenging to self-advocate. Can you share how you find the courage to advocate for yourself? And if you have encountered any challenges, if you can share any stories on this.
So I know when I was in, I guess, elementary school, I've always been a person who has been comfortable with being in a wheelchair. I mean, I was quite young when I lost the ability to walk. So when I was in elementary school, there were moments when I wasn't able to participate because of a barrier. And so I did find it difficult at first to advocate for myself, but I learned that if I don't speak up, then I can't participate. And so I remember in grade 6, we were doing a play, a school play, and I wanted to be in it, but I didn't know what role I could play. So I went to the teacher who was, heading the play, and I had a conversation with the teacher, and I said, I want to be in the play. What role can I do? I use a wheelchair. So what role can I do? And he found a role for me. And honestly, it was such a good experience because I felt like I belonged. Okay. Now, I have encountered challenges. So I remember I went to the community school in the area I lived in, right? So I went there from JK to grade 2. In grade 3, I had to switch schools for grade 3 and 4 because those classes were upstairs and there was no elevator. And it was hard at that age to have to, make new friends and, like it's just not an easy thing to do. And so I remember advocating with the teacher and the principal, you know, can't we move those classes downstairs? Can I do this? Da, da, da? The answer was no. So you do sometimes get the no's, and that's okay because, you learn from that, right? Like you learn to be resilient. You learn to be persistent. It didn't stop me. I came back to the school in grade 5 and 6, right? And it worked because then in grade 7 and 8, we were in a middle school and we actually, um, geography and history were upstairs. But because I had already advocated for grade 3 and 4, I went to the principal in grade 7 and he actually got a wheelchair, put it upstairs for me. And when I had those classes, he would meet me at the bottom of the stairs and he would carry me up himself so that I could stay in that school. And so while it was a challenge and I got my no in grade 3 and 4, it benefited me in grade 7 and 8. I hope that helps and answers the question.
Thank you. It does. It does. Okay, like it's important sometimes to learn, right? And how to self-advocate and how to move forward. I do have another question that I just received. Give me 1 second. Okay, and then I promise that we have a break. Okay. Um, all right. So the question is, we understand that time management is very important, especially in today's modern business environment. However, some children might face challenging being punctual, perhaps due to barriers, such as transportation or different kind of barriers. There might be, can be also physical barriers. There can be so many, right? So, will be appropriate to request that employers provide reasonable accommodations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Accommodation is something I highly encourage you. If you have a child or a youth who is employed and they're encountering barriers, definitely have a conversation with the employer. Okay. Because there are lots of ways that they can support the individual. As I mentioned while I was speaking, I ask anybody who works for me, what can I do to support you to be successful in this role? Okay. And so transportation, I know when I was going to university, I was at U of T downtown and I wasn't driving at the time. I didn't have access to a car. So I was using Wheel-Trans, and Wheel-Trans, where I was living in the north part of Toronto, because I was in Markham at the time, they would go round about everywhere before I get to school. And so oftentimes I would be late. And so, yes, definitely. teach your child to advocate, right, for the accommodation they need.
Teach your child to talk and
Yes.
communicate. Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mubina, for the first part of this session. Thanks for sharing all different skills, and then that parents can teach to their children since they are very young. And I think this is a reminder for everyone, regardless. These are very important skills that everyone um, should have in order to be successful in the current workplace. But let's take a break for now. And Mobina is not leaving, so don't worry if you have other questions. So we'll go back to the Q&A session later. It's almost 8:10, so we come back here at 8:15. Tersini, no worries. I'll give you more time after. So just take a 5 minutes break, and at 7:15 we'll come back here with Tersini Marcando. Thanks for now. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. Give me one sec. All right. Here we are. Okay. Welcome back, and now is part two of our conversation about employment opportunities, where our speaker will explore the role family plays in transition planning, including working with schools, accessing community support, resources, and creating practical, personalized pathways towards employment success for our children. So I'm happy to introduce you to Tarsini Markandu. She's a family as faculty member at Holland Bloorview Kids Rehabilitation Hospital, where she co-design and facilitate learning sessions for family, service providers, and policymakers. She's a South Asian Canadian caregiver to an autistic young adult and brings lived experiences navigating employment pathways, including job coaching and supported employment programs. So please join me in welcoming Tarsini. And as usual, if you have any questions while she talks, feel free to put them in the chat or send it directly to me or to Mia, our program assistant. And then we'll leave the last 10-15 minutes for a Q&A sessions where Mubina will also be here with us. Thanks for now, and let's begin.
Thank you, Elena, for the lovely introduction. Good evening, everyone. And I would first like to thank Mubina for her comprehensive and insightful presentation on foundational skills for independence, life skills, and employment. So I think one of the things that kind of struck in from Rubina's presentation is that we as parents, we are the meaning makers. We are the safe containers that allows them to really experience life, develop the skills that they need. So it's important that we sort of take everyday, ordinary moments, like she said, and be intentional about it and building the skills that our children need to have a meaningful and enjoyable future. So with that in mind, so I'm going to talk about your steadfast vision of your child's future at work. And in my lived experience, what I've learned is one of the core requirements for that is our shift in mindset. We need to change our mindset from limitations to possibilities. So my name is Tharsini Markandu, and like Elena said, I'm a family as faculty, and I'm parent to an autistic 20-year-old girl with intellectual disability. And I'm doing this presentation in partnership with Carolyn McDougall from Employment Pathways at Holland Bloorview. So today's agenda is, sorry, I cannot see you guys on the screen for some reason, screen sharing. I hope you guys can see the slide. Can you see it? Okay, good. So agenda is sort of focusing on the long-term vision of your child's future after high school, post-secondary, and employment as an important aspect of that life. And we're going to talk about why parents need to be active partners in it. And that starts as early as, Elena Mubina said, as early as developing independence and functional skills early in their life. And you work with school and your teachers and how we can best develop employment skills at high school. And we can use the IEP for it and also the experiences at schools. And then, of course, you need to explore community opportunities, programs in the community, resources, and also build your own support network to help you to do that. And then, of course, there's customized employment pathways and practical tools that you can also explore that's available from different organizations. So picture this. Your child after high school wakes up and has somewhere to be. Colleagues who know their name and are glad to have them there. a paycheck, or volunteers hours they've earned themselves, and coming home tired and feeling proud and a sense of purpose and belonging. Now, this is not just a dream, it's the future is real. And you are the most powerful force in making it happen. So when I say you're a child, I'm bringing from through the experience of a family, a parent. It could, and I understand that we have, as a service providers, teachers, and different roles here. So you can think of it with the child you're working, but I'll be referring to as your child. So I also realized I forgot to describe myself at the beginning. So I'm a Sri Lankan woman wearing a purple top. I have long black hair and brown skin. And so this is, I'm middle aged. Okay. So yeah, so this is how I look. So back to the future. So we need to really, as parents, have this vision of the future, that employment is a reality and that we can make it happen. And the belief that we have is the most important, um, um, I guess, a differentiator. So this video I watched at Employment Pathway, Employment Action Coaching at Holland Bloorview, and that video has touched my heart really and inspired me. And I want you to watch this and let me know if you have any issues with the sound. Please do let me know, but it should be fine.
I mean, again, I think of networking as really just it's just advocating and asking folks and reaching out, looking for opportunities for my son. Around the corner from my family's home, there is a little golf course. And I walked over to the golf course one day and introduced myself to the general manager. I'm not a golfer. I have never played in my adult life, and introduced myself to the general manager and explained that I had a son who had a MID designation, and it meant that he couldn't read or write or do arithmetic, but that he was a hard worker and he was enthusiastic and he loved being outside. And the general manager introduced himself back to me. His name was Kevin, and he said, well, he thought maybe there was something that could be done, that he might be interested in trying out. That they cleaned the golf carts on Thursday evenings. And would Cyrus like to come over for a couple hours and help with that one task? And so for a couple of weeks, that's what Cyrus did. And the crew at the golf course got to know him, and he proved exactly what I had described, that he was hardworking and enthusiastic. And Kevin subsequently asked me, would Cyrus be interested in something larger? And so that one role grew into a 5-day-a-week job for Cyrus. It started out in response to COVID, because you could no longer leave rakes out by the sand traps. And so they would get Cyrus to tour the whole golf course and rake out the sand traps every morning. But it has grown to, and this is now his second season there. It has grown to helping out the clubhouse staff with some of their maintenance work and working with the grounds crew. And again, it builds on what was impressive for me anyway, was the willingness of the staff to work with Cyrus and figure out what would work for him. He's able to be outdoors, working with people, doing stuff that he loves to do. And that came from just asking somebody. It was not someone I knew. It wasn't an area in which I had expertise. But I think all of you will have a sense that there are many things that you would ask on behalf of your children that you would not ask on behalf of yourself. Having a child who needs us gives us courage. And it's really important to know that there are people out there who are fundamentally kind and decent folks, and they will step up if asked. If you don't ask them, they don't know that you need help. They don't know that there's an opportunity to engage with your child. But I've been very fortunate that, and this is just one example, that when I asked, it wasn't everybody, obviously, but that when I asked, Kevin, in this case, in his whole staff, frankly, were willing to step up and say, great, we'll find a way that works for Cyrus, that builds on his strengths. And that's I think making that ask in the first place is kind of the hardest, most risky feeling thing to do. But it is in many ways, the most important thing we can do. I mean, again.
So when you look at first thing I learned from Andy, the father in this video, is to make the decision that the world is mostly nice. There are nice people out there who are willing to help if we ask. Second thing I learned from him is to really look at the child's strength. What does the child enjoy? What does he like to do? He likes to be outside. He likes, he's hardworking. So he identified the child's strength. Then, like you said, he really worked up the courage to be vulnerable and ask. He said it's very difficult to ask, but if he hadn't asked, he wouldn't have found the opportunity. So that's really important that we develop this courage to stand by our child, look at possibilities, and ask. So how does it start? First is we need to envision a future. How do you plan your child's life after 21? So there's something called person-directed planning, which is a way for you to look at your child's future, which I've done for my daughter when she was in high school, even in grade 11. So one way to think about it is what does a good week would look like for your child after they graduate? It could be from living arrangement, work or daytime activity, leisure activities, community life, friendships, social lives. So those are the things you need to picture. And who are the people your child likes to be with? And where do they really feel like they belong and they feel at home? And what kind of contribution do they want to make to this community and to the family? And who are the people who can support your child and yourself? So these are the questions that you need to ask. And these questions, this kind of thinking really is sort of the building block of your child's future. So person-directed planning is available, and I think from what I know, it used to be free for under 18 from community living, but if right now they might be not doing it, but there are other organizations that will do person-directed planning. So basically what you will have is you will have like a facilitator and assistant coming. Then you can invite anybody you want, like teachers, family members, clinicians that you think would help with planning your child. And of course, you have the child there because you want to plan your child's future with the child. And you use strength-based approach. You look what are the things that really the child likes. It's good at it. It's not just being good at something. It's also some things that it lights up your child and really wants to do it. And it's sort of a brainstorming session where you look at all the different aspects of life, like living arrangement, employment, community, and leisure skills. So then you have a picture of all the different parts of your person's life or your child's life that you want to work on. So now I would like to sort of, you've been listening to presentation for a long time. So I thought we can just have a little short activity to sort of see how this can go ahead. So if you could take a piece of paper, because I think when we write down things, it does something to our neurobiology that we do really remember. So I like you to take like a minute to write down 3 strengths of your child. It could be child's strengths or something that your child really likes. So I'm just going to put some time. So it will give you like 1 minute to sort of think about your child's strengths and then write them down. So it could be something that you see in your child really enjoys, does really well, has an aptitude, something that, you would say is the best three things that your child would enjoy doing. I think that's about 1 minute. So now that you know some things that you've had a chance to think about your child's strength and things that your child likes, do you think you can come up with at least two places your child can use that skill or the interest to find a job? It can be a paid job, it can be volunteering, something, they can go with assisted employment, part-time or full-time. But if you can come up with two places that your child could potentially work, in terms of support and everything the child needs, we can worry about it. Assume you have all the support he or she needs to work in this place. So, take a few seconds to just come up to places. If you know some places that you can think of, can you please put in the chat? So Mia, if you see anyone, type in the chat, please let me know.
For sure.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking this is because quite often my daughter goes to Sir William Osler High School, and we have at every parent and staff parent night, we have agency fair. And I'm as a co-counsel, as the co-chair of the school council, I was there trying to emphasize the importance of focusing on employment opportunities, which I will take. My transformation, my learning point happened at something called employment action coaching, which I will touch up later. But ever since I attended the program, I've been sort of firm that my daughter will be doing some form of employment after she graduates high school. I do not want to have a full-time day program for her, because I want her to be involved and contribute to the community and by working. So that parent night, I was very keen on trying to get every parents to sort of think from the lens of workplace, put the hat of employment opportunities and think about it. And it happened that I had March of Dimes agency right in front of me. So I would sort of, prompt every parent and say, did you have a chance to think about it? Did you talk about transition to your teachers? Even in the earliest grade 9, you start thinking about it. Did you think about employment opportunities? And I would send all the parents to March of Dimes. And I saw this parent come, and she was bringing her son, and he was in a wheelchair. So I spoke to her and I said, hey, did you get a chance to sort of think about, what possible employment your son could work? She looked at me and she was, you're kidding me, right? And I was like, sorry, no, I'm not kidding. I'm just thinking, have you had a chance? He goes, he can't walk, he can talk. What kind of employment could he do? And so it wasn't coming from a place of, you know, non-care. She did care for the child. You could see she was really worried, and you could see the fear and worries in her eyes about his son's future. So she just didn't think that he had an opportunity to sort of work. But her response kind of caught me off guard. So I didn't know. So I said, oh, perhaps, but we have an expert from March of Dimes. Why don't we ask? So the lady looked at the mother and said, okay, so you said he cannot walk, he cannot talk. But how about like painting and coloring? Does he enjoy that? And at that moment, the mother's face just lit up, and she's like, yeah, he loves painting. He loves coloring. So then the lady said, there you go. Here's something we can look at as a potential for work when he, finishes high school. But that, you know, reframing her mind, the thinking of an opportunities, because she was so worried, scared from his limitations, she didn't see possibilities. So if anything today, I would like you guys to see, move from limitations to possibilities, to strength. So in that moment, that is what the mother experienced. She's like, oh my God, my son can do, he can work. So that's the idea here. So which is what we call strength-based approach. First, look at your child's strength. And this is something every parent must do. We must shift our mentality, our mindset from limitations, from fear to possibilities. So what could you do? So you look at them. What are the things that they're really good at? What lights them up? Like what makes them happy? Some are very good with attention to detail. That could mean they could do sorting, organizing, quality checking. Some children like consistency and routine. So maybe they like reliable performance in structured roles, kind of, you know, packing and second, then there are other people who have genuine warmth. They're friendly and they're smiling. So maybe they could be like customer facing roles, hospitality, but some even like something like a greeter. Like you could be a greeter at Walmart, at hospitals, at senior homes, because the warmth comes and they enjoy interacting with people and they guide. And they could have specific interests like animals or food, technology. So then you find an area, an employment opportunities in that area. And some are really a lot of energy. They want to do things. So there are like delivery by foot. And then you can do stocking and cleaning. And some people are creative. So there are so many opportunities that you can help your child with. And like this father, Andy, he just had the courage to ask. And this is similar what happened to me. When I did the employment action coaching, for me, that year, the goal was to find a volunteer job for my daughter. So I happened to run into Loblaws at Salvation Army. It was Christmas time. So we were donating and she was talking about my daughter. I said, look, I want an employment opportunity for my daughter. I would like her to contribute. And she goes, why don't you call Salvation Army at this location? So I called and left a voicemail saying, look, my daughter is autistic and she's hardworking with support. She's not ready to work on her own. She needs support. I can come in as her job coach. Would you consider giving her volunteer opportunities? So 2 days later, they called me back and they said, come, let's take this opportunity and get to know and try this out with Asha, see how it goes. So sometimes it's just asking, you finding your child's interest and find something that matches. So why am I talking about work? Why is work important? It's not about the paycheck, but work is also something that gives our children purpose. They see their siblings, they see others, they're going to work, they have a routine. You don't want your child to be at home or at like a day program all the time. I'm not saying, for some it might be the solution, but finding even within the day program or something where they can go one day volunteer, that'll give them a sense of purpose, sense of belonging. It's identity and belonging, and they feel like they're contributing. So when Asha comes home from Salvation Army, she wears the badge and she says, oh, I came back from work. I have work tomorrow. And I help children, get snacks because I'm packing snacks. So that gives them value. And also they're learning a lot of independence. Over the years, I'm able to wean Asha. I don't have to support her all the time. Even if I'm not there now, she's able to manage with the ladies there. So she's working on her own. It builds confidence. It builds self-worth. So now, what is really important? So what is the key driver for our children finding employment and finding success and meaning? To me, that's active parental participation. Like Mubina said, a lot of the skills are learned early in their life. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm putting all the pressure on the parents. What we are saying is, as parents, we have lots of small opportunities where we can be intentional and teach the skills. Like giving your child chore, saying, it's your job to do the laundry. If you don't do the laundry, we don't have clothes. Your whole family doesn't have clothes. That's not right. And communication, self-regulation, all those things, these are very hard skills, especially when you have neurodiverse children with language and anything with emotional regulation, all those things, executive functions, those are all high order thinking with difficult words. How do we get them to understand? I firmly believe that as parents, we can provide the support they need by teaching them the words in their experience, and we are the meaning makers for them. So active parental participation sort of falls into three categories. Obviously, at home, like I said, giving chores, thinking about the future, planning ahead. Let the kids try. Like I think one of the things that Romina said is let the kids try, let them make mistakes, and let them ask for help. So these are things, sometimes we, as parents, we want to make sure they don't make mistakes. We correct them, overcorrect them sometimes, but let them learn through their mistakes. So they learn to advocate for themselves and ask. And then you can teach like grocery shopping. I get my daughter to come. I say, what are the things you want? Make a list. Let's go buy. Pick your own groceries. Yes, it takes longer time. It's more effort. Yes. But over the time, they develop these skills. And at school, obviously, we need to really actively participate in the IEP, which I'll talk about later as well. And then use strengths-based approaches, ask for employment placements, ask for like experiential learning, and and advocate for accommodations, which I think our children, if they can ask them, let them ask. If not, we'll ask for them. And find community participation, volunteer roles, challenger baseball or different activities, Special Olympics, all those things. Get them out in the community, build the support network. So as Mubina said, workplace starts at home. Every skills that you need at work can be told at school. For instance, chores on schedule. If you do, if this is your time, you can use visual schedule, you can use rewards and stuff. Get them to do the schedule on time so they learn to show up on time. Having said that, it's still a big challenge with my daughter because she doesn't understand sense of time. But we've been working on it with timers and, sort of putting reminders and stuff, but it is challenging. But you can work on it. So I believe that, you never say your child can do it. You make the most generous assumption that the child will learn when they're ready. And you always think she hasn't learned it yet. She will learn. So managing money, you can use technology to help. Asking for help clearly, being able to say, what do I like? No, I don't like this. I don't, can I do this instead? So this is all problem solving, communicating, and self-advocacy. And also handling when things go wrong, which is sometimes hard for my daughter, which is, dealing with difficult emotions. If things don't go your way, if things, she doesn't like, if she doesn't know if something is difficult or if things go wrong. So how do you deal with uncomfortable emotions? So how do you sit with difficult emotions and handle this? And so that's sort of building resilience. So like I said, I started as a job coach for my daughter at Salvation Army. And over the months, I'm able to sort of step back more. I don't need to be helping her. She knows the routine. She's really made friends with other people who are at Salvation Army, and she really likes it. So how does actively collaborating with school look like? So IEP. So every IEP has a transition section, I think, at the end. So it is required by government that IEPs include plans for transition. So don't wait till grade 11 and grade 12 to plan your transition. You can do it as early as grade 9. Talk to your child, identify the strength, ask what are their interests. So work with your school and your teachers. See, does your child wants to go to university, college, or see the CIC program or employment or volunteering. So you need to start thinking as early as grade 9, I would suggest, and then work with the teachers and guidance counselor how to best do the programming at school to help. So if your child is not going to university, is not pursuing education after high school, what are some of the employment thing you can do at school? So every board is different. So my daughter is with TDSP, and there's something called SPEAL, which is Experiential Learning, Special Needs Experiential Learning Program, which you can sign up or you ask for it. Is my child ready for it? I would like to have my daughter participate in the SPEAL program. Or they have sometimes in-house um, work experiences, which is called at our school is called called Pathways program. So inquire at your school, do you have employment experiences at school that my child can do? And they might have co-op placement. And then other than experiences, you also want to work on the functional academics like time, money. So those are things that you need to work. And the other thing they also work at school is using transportation and navigation. So is your child able to navigate independently in the community and get stuff done? And then there's also programs called Project Search, which is done with in collaboration by many hospitals, the UHN, and including Holland Bloorview, which will be in the last year of high school. So, and then what does it mean to explore community opportunities? So, if you think about work, don't always think of going to, applying, sending in a resume, going through interview and getting paid job. There are a lot of other creative ways to do it. We can start with volunteer work. There's a lot of pre-employment, so employment preparation programs that you can go through the agencies. And there's some are supported full-time or there are part-time employments. And what I like is really job carving. This word sort of gave me uh, sort of was a turning point for me in employment coaching when I heard the word. I can carve the job that'll work for my child. Instead of fitting my child into a work, perhaps I can find a work that is tailored to my child. So community programs that kind of support employment are, I don't have a comprehensive list, and I think there's a resource things that we have prepared, which will have all of this that we will share. Example includes March of Dimes, Holland Bloorview's employment pathways. My daughter is a client at Holland Bloorview, so we've been participating in their employment pathway programs. And there's Project Search, and you can also register with DSO and specify community participation supports. And all from what I know, DSO and ODSP and stuff, they do have employment supports. Some are pre-employment, you can start earlier, and you can register for employment support in the last year of your high school. And there's Ontario Integrated Employment Services as well. So my daughter Asha, I just want to give a little bit of background with her. She is an autistic girl with developmental disability. She's a hardworking girl, has a sense of humor, and she loves yoga. And she's someone who, when she's happy, she can light up a room. But when things go wrong, it can be challenging. So anyhow, I feel she really enjoys yoga and she's more in alignment with yoga and mindfulness. She also likes books. Library might be an option. And also she likes animals and she likes dancing. So those are the things that we are looking at. So I'm no longer looking at what, I don't think about what she can't do, but I'm looking at what, who she is as a person, what is sort of in alignment with her, and how can we help her. So when I stopped asking what can she handle, then I started asking, what does she really love, and who would really need that? That changed everything to me, I think. And Asha is enjoying her volunteer job at Salvation Army. And so going back to sort of community programs that we took part, my daughter first started with the volunteerable program at Holland Bloorview, where she learned the concept of going to work. She learned dress code, they had team meeting, she had schedules, and they reflected on their work. And so at the end, they received volunteers hours. And when I attended the program, when my daughter attended the program, and I really understood the importance of chores. Had I given Asha like chores early in life and insisted that, it's important to, do your chores in your family, that would have helped her learn a lot of the skills that she needs to do for work. And then the program that I think I mentioned a few times that really changed my life is something called Employment Action Coaching Program. So that's the program where I saw Andy's video. So when I took this program, and one of the activity was to write down your child's strength and go through like job opportunities online and and advertisement, come up with jobs that you think your child could work for. So every job I found, my immediately jumped, oh, these are the skills she couldn't do. Oh, these are the potential dangers for her. She might not be safe. So I was constantly I had a bias towards things she couldn't do and what are the risks, what are the possible dangers for her that she might be, or she might run into. But when I saw Andy's video, I realized the world is fundamentally a nice place. Most people are nice. And I also need to look at my child's strength. She's here and she can give something to this world. So it was really my fear and my mindset that looked at my daughter's limits. And I didn't want that to limit my child's life. I didn't want my fears to sort of really uh, deprive her, take away her chances of leading a fulfilling life where she can find meaning and contribute to this world. So that really changed. Andy's video was really transformative for me. And then there was a word, job carving. That's when like all the light bulbs went up and I said, oh my God, that's so true. I can find a job that will exactly sort of light up my child's life. It'll meet her needs and her wishes. If I need to, I'll carve a job like that for her. So at that point, I started to see possibilities, seeing, networking, seeing other families, connecting to other families, going into the community, learning about things, really makes you brave, gives you the skill set to support your child, gives you the courage to go and ask for a job for your child. So having done the employment action coaching, where in that program we did a video resume for my daughter, we practiced interview, we also had a cover letter. So when we went to meet Salvation Army, we said, look, we have done this video resume. So my daughter was showing the resume and they, when the manager there, she was asking me question, I kind of said, why don't you ask Asha how she feels about it? So she was able to answer that. But I got the confidence to take my daughter and do this sort of, video resume presentation, getting my child to talk because I attended the employment action coaching, because I felt confident. So it is, as parents, is important that you go and find opportunities in the communities and take part, really educate yourself, see all the opportunities out there, possibilities, and see success stories from parents, network and learn. And that is the best gift you can give your child. So hearing the other family stories, especially Andy's stories, it was a game changer for me. It really gave me the confidence and hope that my daughter will also find a job and lead a meaningful life. So what really changed? So instead of asking, can they handle it? What do they love? Who needs that skill set? What if something goes wrong? What's one small step we can take this month? So like, instead of looking, and that's what's a positive mindset, instead of thinking that putting our attention on everything that could go wrong, we could also put our attention on everything we can do to support our child. Who will be patient enough to work with my child? Or instead of thinking like that, we can say, who can support us and how do I go about asking them? Maybe it's safer to protect them. Or I can say, I can also trust my child a little more, that they know how to protect them and trust the universe. So what does belonging look like? It's not something you just, proclaim. You actually demonstrate it. A real place, a real role, a real relationship. It has to be a role, a job that the child really feels they are doing it, and it really makes them feel valued. A colleague who receives them a seat at lunch, manager who knows how to break the task down, like Mubina said, how to communicate, bring the best out of them. A routine that gives like a meaning, a shape, and structure for the whole week. And at the end of the day, you want the child to feel success, like Mubina said, feel valued and feel success. And this is something that all of us, we can work together towards. And, always keep in mind it can be done. So now I've been talking a lot about parents. Now, by all means, this is not, I'm not putting the onus on the parents and, say you must do it. What I was trying to say is we are sort of like the case manager. We are the advocate for our child. We are the how do you say, we are the champions for our child. So we have to really advocate for them, but the system has to help. So it's a systems approach. Schools, teachers, guidance counselors, everybody, they have to help us. Some of the parents really don't know about person-directed planning. Maybe they might not know. So as a school, maybe you should tell them, hey, your child is in grade 9, 10. It's a good time for you to look at your child's future. Let's plan together. Healthcare providers who can say, what are the best, skills or what are the things you need to work on or programs you need to be to get your child an employment. Community agencies like Community Living, March of Dimes, and Holland Blovies and stuff, they can help parents by, giving the tools. There's something called student links where you get to observe different people working, like job shadowing. So you can apply for that. This is how you introduce them to different opportunities, experiences. And as an employer, you really want to give them the opportunities to work. Statistically, if you hire people with disability, they are very loyal. They don't leave you quickly, and they actually do their work with due diligence. So really, giving employment to our children is a systems approach, and all of us have to be aligned. So if when all sectors align, transition work doesn't become patchwork. It's not a siloed thing here. It's not a band-aid solution. It becomes a clean pathway. So what can you do? So when you leave this session, I'd really like you to sort of, there's a resource document that has been sent to all of you guys. Take that. At the end of the resource page, there are 3 steps you can write down. Today, write down what you're going to do next. You're going to have a conversation with your child, or you're going to talk to the teachers, try to figure out what would work the best for your child. Assign maybe a new chore to your child at home. Reach out to your school transition team and start talking about it. Talk to an employment program in the community. Find a volunteer opportunity. So pick whatever works for you, but write it down. The minute you write it down, you'll commit to it. So helping to find purpose and pride and belonging. So I'm coming back to the parents again. You are the system. You are the first employer. You are the first believer. And that is enough to begin. Now, lead with what they can do. Use their strength. Envision a future. Don't limit yourself. Think of all the possibilities. And believe before you have a proof. Trust in your child, trust in the world that something will work out. So I don't know, it's close to 9 o'clock. We do have resources.
I just put the resource slide in the chat, so that's available for everybody. If people want, they can download it. If not possible, this material, including the video, will be available on the website of North Star in the next few weeks. Tarsini, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think I just want to ask Caroline, did you want to talk about the resources? We have 2 minutes time. Would you like to talk about it?
We do have several questions. Caroline, sorry, you're muted.
Questions. Yeah, no, go ahead. Sorry, I was muted. I was thinking better questions, so I emailed with
Yeah, because we got
Elena
so many
and she put-
questions. Okay, so thank you, Tarsini. Thank you, Mubina. Please come back. So we did receive a few questions. I know it's quite late. It's already 9 o'clock. But please be patient. Stay with us. I really would like to go through a few of these questions because they're quite important. So the first one is from Yulan. She wrote it before in the chat. And she mentioned, they mentioned, my son lacks motivation to learn new skills, and I believe he has the potential to achieve much more. How can parents encourage children with special needs to feel more positive and hopeful about the future? It's challenging to change their mindset when they're close to turning 18. I think both of you can reply. Who wants to go first?
I guess I can go.
Yeah, okay. Mm.
So I think, first of all, I think it's, if you look, it's developmentally very appropriate. You find 18 years old nowadays, motivation is very low. It's, it's adult, the brains are still developing motivation. It's not just because they're special needs. At that age, I see all my friends say about this. It's a problem. Even with my child, sometimes motivation is an issue. But the thing is, it is really, you have to ask yourself, I don't know, if we put demands on them before the children can discover their interests and they sort of drive. So intrinsic motivation, especially my daughter, is quite low. But we are now working on actually getting her to sort of learn, let her make decisions, run into, problems and learn what you want. And also, can they really have a future vision? Because a lot of the kids with, neurodiversity have difficulty picturing the future. They are very much in the moment. So you have to teach them, what kind of person do you want to be? If you want to be a yoga teacher, what should you maybe, are you doing anything about it today? So you cannot be a yoga teacher if you want to watch TV all day. So these kind of stuff we have to teach them, and we have to be patient, and then give a lot of opportunities and let them learn through natural consequences and stuff. And so that's what I would suggest.
I would say go back to their strengths. Okay. Um, work with them to understand their strengths. And as Tharsini talked about the inner desire, right? So when you understand their strengths, when they understand their strengths, they'll be able to connect it back to what they want to do, right? And when you help them see that what they want to do is possible, then you'll start to find the motivation increases. So if you go back to um, the example that Tharsini talked about with that individual and March of Dimes and the coloring, right? Um, it changed everything. Okay, so I would really advise you to go back to the child's strengths, what the child enjoys and what they want, and work with that because I think that'll shift the motivation.
Could I also add a few more
Yes,
things?
go ahead.
So when we say a child lacks motivation, perhaps the task or whatever we are asking is way out of the, way too challenging. So whatever you give them a lot of opportunities to be successful. They need to, what you talk about, dopamine hit. They need to feel, experience success. So make your, whatever you are trying to do, make the ask to be just right challenge for them to be successful. And as they build the momentum of experiencing success, you will see the motivation go up. So sometimes I think as parents, we think like adults or whatever, maybe we're putting the demand that is too much. So, so really look at what you're asking or expecting of the child. Is it right? Can we bring it down so that the child can experience success and positive things, and focus on the strength and interest, and then see where it takes.
It's true. I'm unfortunately the person who asked this question is not here anymore.
Oh,
Hopefully, hopefully she can. Hopefully they can check the video afterward. But anyways, I let's go ahead because we do have another questions that I think both of you might have a lot to say. So as both mentioned, parents need to provide a lot of training, assistance, support. For some parents, especially those who need to work and earn an income to support their family, this can be very challenging. Do you have any suggestion to solve this huge dilemma?
so I'll go. So I self-identify as a person with disability. I use a wheelchair. I have a son, and I'm a single parent. I was also the primary caregiver of both my elderly parents. So I had a lot on my plate over the last, years. Both my parents have passed on now, and my son is like 2 weeks away from graduating from high school, and he's going to hit university. So I've had some tough years, and to balance, earning an income, also, raising my son, you know, taking care of my parents, managing my disability, all of that kind of stuff. There was a lot. But one of the things that I find is I learned to take time every day for myself. Not a lot of time, but I don't know, 15 minutes, sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on the day and depending on what had to do. Because I found that if I wasn't taking care of me, then I wasn't at my best to be able to take care of all these other things that I needed to do. Okay. And so it can be a lot. I know for me, with my parents as they aged, their needs grew, right? Their health deteriorated. So there were a lot of additional things. They encountered barriers, like there were lots of things happening. Um, but it's important that I took care of me. Did I have some off days? 100%. I still have some off days. I'm sure, all parents can relate to that. But, also be gentle with yourself, right? But I think it's important that you just take some time for yourself. Even something as simple as just pausing and taking some deep breaths, it can really help center you and just provide that calmness and keep you going.
So can I add to this?
Yes,
Thank
yes,
you.
yes.
I totally echo Mubina's thing of being gentle with yourself and also taking some time, fill your cup first, which is very true, which I learned really. So to that question, I think you're asking the million-dollar question that everybody's just trying to solve. Yes, it is. I used to joke it's 200% 7 days a week, and that's how it feels like because like if you look at all the skill set that Mobina gave for us to work with your child, the degree of co-regulation you need to do, and constantly like you are teaching using moment to do this, and you also have the other demands of life. So yes, it is burnout 100%. I agree. But what has helped in the life over the years is not to have some self-compassion, okay, and do your best, and then over the years, I also became a bit more spiritual. I've learned I do my best and let the universe guide and ask help. Like connecting to other parents and connecting to communities, like, organizations like Holland Blowy, where they have really helped me with opportunities and things I needed to learn. But it also comes with an openness to say, okay, I need some help. Can you help me? Like I do find, so I'm not, I do a general trend which I used to do myself many years ago is to victimize yourself, and you feel like life is not fair. You do all these, self-talk that really you're stuck looking at a problem, and you have what you call learned helplessness. You feel, oh, there's no way out. But listened to a lot of Wayne Dyer, Dr. Wayne Dyer, and positive solution focused thinking, all these things. You really can shift the way you think. Yes, it's a lot of work, but what is the one thing I could do today? And that's good enough. I used to be like I know I can go and be try to I used to Google a lot, learn a lot. I did, a lot of things for my daughter. But there's a point there was no me in my life. So I said, okay, I can do my best for my child and somehow it'll work out. I trust the process. And I also you do little thing at a time. And like Movina said, have self-compassion. Also learn to live your life, self-express. If you have your own passions, do pursue that as well. Support your child, but also fill your cup.
Yeah. And I want to just add that, you know, be your own cheerleader. Remind yourself that you have done the best that you could, right? There are moments in my life that I, ponder on and I'm like, I could have done this, I could have done that, but no. And then I remind myself, no, I've done the best that I could. And you know what? I'm continuing to do the best that I can.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing these very touching stories. Thank you for sharing them in front of everybody. It's not easy to be here and share that and be a role model also for other people. And okay, anyways, let's move to the last question I have. I don't think we can take more questions. So employment coaching programs are really inspiring for parents who are really looking for guidance on career pathways and vocational support for their children with special needs, where they can turn for help. Yeah, Tarsini mentioned different things from the Holland Bloorview Hospital. There is also a resource slide that has been shared, but any other resources?
So I
I'm
think,
gonna,
so go
sorry,
ahead.
I'm just gonna chime in. Google's a great thing, okay? It's a really great thing. It can be a pain, but it's a good thing. Um, there are lots of organizations that support um, uh, people with disabilities to, find employment. Um, if you just Google that, you'll find, like, I know Career Foundation has an arm to support people with disabilities. I know CCRW has an arm that they actually don't have an arm. They support people with disabilities. I believe March of Dime does, Holland Bloor Review, as we know. So there are lots of organizations that support people with disabilities finding employment. And I encourage you to Google that. I think the support, the resource sheet that
Mhm.
they have posted, that also has some resources through Holland Bloorview. But I would really encourage you to, connect with these organizations and be able to, you know, can like be able to get on their list so that they can get on a call with you and your child or just your child and help them, find something.
So just thank you, Mubina. So I do like Google, but I also really believe in power of connection. Really talk to other parents, talk to your school councils, network. I think parents, like this flyer that I posted right now, I found was shared today at our school's WhatsApp message when because a person asked about person-directed planning. And I did the free one with community living for my daughter, and they said they might, so this is sort of the updated version. So you can talk to your guidance counselor. There's something called Student Links by Community Living. So all the agencies usually have an employment path programs. So RENA has one, Colebrook has one. So just March of Dime. So really look up at the organizations. Most of the schools have transition resource kit. Like our school has its own transition kit, and from what I know, most schools have it. So really, school is a good place to start. Talk to other parents, Google as well, then find out what really works. There's something called Partners for Planning, and like there's individual people who work sort of consultation basis as well. There's a fabulous lady called Kelly Cassie who's really good at helping finding resources. So really networking is what I would also suggest. Talk to other parents. Get your tribe. find people who can share with you, because I think as parents, having a group who supports you, where you can talk about your challenges and your success, that'll really is helpful.
Thank you both. I was kind of smiling, Tersini, when you were talking about parents, because yesterday we also had a session on education. And then at the end, what we talk about is the importance of the parent network. Because also in education, how do you navigate and all the support that you can have, like the help that you can have from other parents. So I guess that tonight we kind of end with a similar thought. So parents are our new hero. Okay, it's like parents like caregiver. Okay, I have to be like it's getting quite late. It's already 9:15, so I had to be respectful of time. We would like to close the session now. I want to thank everybody for being here, for showing up at 7 o'clock in the evening and stay with us for 2 hours. Also, I want to thank for people who come back tonight, also showed up last night. Thanks for being part of this initiative. I hope to see most of you also tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to talk about transition to adulthood, especially from a financial perspective. But for now, since we just finished, we would like to launch the last poll where we ask you a few questions. We ask you basically the same questions we asked you before, and we want to know if you learned something. So questions are very similar. To what extent did this session improve your understanding of workplace skills for youth with disability? Again, 1, not at all, and then 5, very much. And then the second question is, to what extent did this session improve your understanding of transition planning from school to adult life? Again, 1, not at all, 5, very much. And then question number 3 is, to what extent did this session improve your understanding of employment support for youth with disability, such as job coaching or supported employment? Okay, we got 1, 5. All right, I'm going to leave the poll open here while I finish to say a few things. Again, if you have more questions, feel free to connect with Mia or with me. We'll try to reply to your question as much as we can. This video will be posted on the website of North Star, including the resource sheet, but I hope that you had a chance to download it. And with that, I'm going to wish everybody a wonderful night. And I'll see you tomorrow at 7 o'clock. Remember to be on time.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Tersini and Mubina, for this wonderful conversation, for sharing your story. That was amazing.
Thank you. All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.